Behind me here in the snow, you can see our post pounder. It's a piece of junk. It's always breaking down, and I've got to get it working. We made a few offers on post pounders last year, and they seemed to just be snapped up. Every single time we'd go look at one, we would you know, think about it for a day or two, and then when we call them back, it would be sold. So we found one for sale not too far from us. We drove over there. They were selling everything on the farm, and we had no way of seeing if this thing even worked. But because we had been, you know, trying to find one for a while, we just bought it without being able to test it out, and that was a big mistake, because this thing has been nothing but problems. The person who had it before us had let water get into the hydraulic fluid, and it cracked the casing on the pump. So we had a friend of ours weld that up, which saved us $600 for a new pump. And then we used it for a day or two, pounded a dozen posts, and the main hydraulic cylinder burst. Or it didn't burst, but the seals let go. And a seal shop quoted us $1,200 to rebuild it, because the shaft had been wearing on the one side, so the ram was basically garbage. So I bought a new hydraulic cylinder for it. That cost me $800. So now it's sitting here unused, and I have got to get this thing working. The parts that I bought for it, you can't find parts for this model anymore. They don't make them anymore. So I had to buy a similar part from a different brand, and I'm just hoping that it works. So the cylinder itself fit just fine, and that's awesome. I didn't want to have to do any fabrication to it, just because it's just so much better if everything just fits together. So the cylinder itself fit great. Now I just have to plumb up the hydraulics. I will throw it on the back of the tractor, and we'll flick the switch and see what happens. Come on, baby. The reason this hydraulic cylinder failed in the first place was the people who owned it before me, they never had a U-bolt clamp on this cylinder. So whenever this cylinder would slide up and down, there was nothing holding it stable, and it would flex when that cylinder comes down. It comes down with so much force, it would cause that cylinder to bow, and it wore out one side of the cylinder. I'm going to get a proper U-bolt in here so I don't do the same thing. But just for the sake of testing to make sure this thing even works, I'm gonna mount this thing on the tractor and see how it goes. Well, I wouldn't say mounting this thing went smoothly, but it's on here, so I'm happy with that. Now we just have to see if when I hit that button, this thing even works. All right, I'm ready to see what happens here. Are you? PTO on. You can see the PTO turning down here, turning the pump. Now I'm going to go over to the controls. Good. All right, now the real test. Perfect. So I've got a question for you guys, and the person who answers the question correctly, I will shout your channel out in the next video. So the person who got the question correct in the last video is the Soji Farmer. Go check their channel out. I will put a link to their video at the end. I'll also link to their video in the show notes down below. That's the Soji Farmer. Go check them out, subscribe, hit their bell, and that'd be great. So the question for this video is, what kind of tractor do I have? Tell me the brand of tractor I have, and I will shout you out in the next video. I almost showed you.